Once upon a time, in a quiet valley surrounded by tall green hills, there was a young boy named Elias. He was known in his village as the thinker, not because he was wise, but because he could never stop thinking. His mind never rested. From the moment he woke up until the late hours of the night, thoughts kept rushing like a river during a storm. What if he made a mistake tomorrow? What if people judged him? What if the past could come back to haunt him? These endless worries filled his days with anxiety and his nights with sleeplessness. Even though he was only 20, his face carried the tiredness of someone much older. He laughed rarely, smiled almost never, and walked through life as if carrying a heavy, invisible burden. One afternoon, while sitting near the river that cut through the valley, Elias overheard two old travelers. They spoke about a man who lived far beyond the hills, a man who once had been a great teacher of minds, someone who helped people calm the storms inside their heads. They said he had left the noisy life of the city many years ago and now lived close to the forest where the air was still and silence carried answers. Elias felt a spark inside him, a spark that whispered, "Maybe this man can show me what I cannot see." For the first time in months, Elias felt hope, stronger than fear. He decided he had nothing to lose. The very next morning, with a small bag of food and water, he began walking the long road toward the distant forest. The journey was not easy. He walked under hot sun, through muddy paths, and sometimes slept hungry because he had eaten too quickly. But each step carried the promise of peace. He thought of the old man, of the possibility that maybe, just maybe, his restless mind could finally find rest. And the more he thought, the more determined he became. After several days, Elias reached a clearing at the edge of the forest. There he found a small wooden house covered in ivy, its roof darkened by time, its windows glowing faintly with the light of evening. On the porch, sitting on a chair carved from a tree trunk, was an old man with a long white beard. His eyes were closed, his breath slow and steady, and his face carried a peace that Elias had never seen in anyone before. Nervously, Elias approached. His voice trembled as he said, "Master, my name is Elias. I cannot control my thoughts. They chase me day and night, making me weak and tired. I want peace. Can you help me?" The old man opened his eyes slowly, his gaze calm and gentle, as if he had already been expecting the boy. He gave a faint smile and replied, "Peace is not something you will find by searching in the future or digging into the past. Peace is something you must practice in this very moment. But to understand, you need an experience, not words." He rose from his chair with surprising strength for his age, walked into his small house, and returned with a clay bowl filled to the edge with milk. He handed the bowl carefully to Elias and said, "Take this bowl and walk through the entire village until you reach the great oak tree at the end of the path. Then return to me. But remember one thing, not a single drop must be spilled." Elias stared at the bowl, confused. "But master, how can this help me?" The old man smiled again and answered, "The answer is inside the task. You will see." With both hands trembling, Elias accepted the bowl. He began walking carefully along the narrow road that passed through the village. Children were playing with sticks, dogs barked at strangers, shopkeepers shouted their prices loudly, and horses galloped past. The world was full of noise, distraction, and chaos. But Elias had no choice. If he looked up, if he lost focus even for a moment, the milk would spill. So he kept his eyes locked on the bowl. Every step was slow, measured, deliberate. The world around him seemed to blur. The laughter, the barking, the shouts. They were there, but they did not enter his mind. His entire being was devoted to keeping the milk safe. When he finally reached the great oak tree, he turned around and walked back with the same focus. By the time he returned to the porch, sweat ran down his forehead. His hands were stiff from holding the bowl so tightly, but the milk was still perfectly full. Proud and relieved, Elias handed it back. "Master, I did it. Not one drop spilled." The old man took the bowl, nodded gently, and asked, "But tell me, did you notice the children playing? Did you hear the shopkeepers? Did you see the horses running past?" Elias blinked in surprise. "No, master, I saw nothing. I heard nothing. I thought only of the milk." The old man smiled again, his eyes shining like the evening stars. "That, my boy, is the secret you were searching for. In those moments, Your mind was free. You were not in the past, regretting mistakes. You were not in the future, fearing what may come. You were in the present. Every step, every breath, every thought was tied only to the milk. And in that focus, you found silence. That silence is peace. Elias felt a wave of understanding wash over him. For the first time he realized that peace was not a treasure buried in some distant land or a secret locked away by wise men. Peace had been within him all along, hidden behind the noise of his restless thoughts. All he had to do was stay in the present, to hold his focus on what was here and now, just as he had held the milk. He bowed deeply to the old man, tears filling his eyes. "Master, now I see. My mind does not have to be my enemy. If I live in the present, if I hold on to this moment, I can be free." The old man placed a hand on his shoulder and whispered, "Never forget, the present is the only place where life truly exists. Protect it, and it will protect you." That night, as Elias walked back toward his valley, the world felt different. The stars above him glowed brighter, the breeze on his face felt softer, the ground beneath his feet steadier. For the first time, he was not lost in the storms of his thoughts. He was simply here. And that here was enough. The story of Elias spread through the village and beyond. People spoke of the boy who carried milk without spilling a drop and discovered the secret of peace. Some laughed at the simplicity of it, while others felt inspired to try for themselves. And slowly, the idea began to take root, that maybe peace was not something far away, but something within reach for anyone willing to hold the present like a full bowl of milk. Now, as you reflect on Elias's journey, ask yourself this: how often do you let your thoughts drag you into the past or pull you into the future? How often do you spill your milk because your attention is everywhere but here? Remember, the mind will always try to run in 1,000 directions, but the secret is in choosing one step, one breath, one moment at a time. That is how storms turn into silence. If you felt something stir in your heart while listening to this story, give it a like to let us know. Share it with a friend who might be carrying too many thoughts. And most of all, write in the comments, what is the one thing you want to focus on today in this very moment? Your answer might inspire someone else. And if you don't want to miss more stories like this, filled with lessons hidden inside simple moments, make sure to subscribe and stay with us. Every week we bring you a new journey, a new parable, and a new chance to discover the wisdom that has always been waiting inside you. Because the truth is simple. Peace is not something we chase, it is something we practice. And just like Elias discovered, when you choose to hold your attention in the present, you carry within you the power to calm the storm, to silence the noise, and to finally smile again. So let this story remind you, your bowl of milk is always in your hands. Don't let it spill.